How you doing, everybody? I'm Ken Bykoff, and welcome to the Peegs Postgame Live. Indiana turns in another just dumpster fire of a game. 76-64 is your final score in a game that wasn't that damn close, and just ugly. Just another weekday, another ass kicking on the road. What more can you say about this? I mean, the Hoosiers get off to a brutal start. This is a game that they're coming off that Purdue loss. That was a tight loss. Your back's against the wall. You know that you're going on the road at a place where you haven't won in quite some time. And, the response to it all is you don't show up. And I'm going to tell you right now, I do not give a damn about the fact that this team ended up cutting it to a 12-point loss and played a little bit tougher after the first 6 minutes, because the first 6 minutes were everything. You get down by 22. I just, is that how you go ahead and you bounce back after a tough loss to Purdue? You say you come back? You have veteran players on this team. This ain't a pile of young guys. All right, folks? It's not a pile of young guys. It's a veteran ball club. They may not have played in an Indiana uniform forever, but this is a veteran ball club. And for them to go to Wisconsin and just no show for the first 7.5 minutes of the game, dig a 22-point hole. And I'm really interested to hear what it is that Mike Woodson is going to have to say after the game. Hopefully it'll be nothing too bad, nothing like.
As the coach, I gotta get us over that hump.
Because people might be a little upset about that. 812-393-2600 is the number. Hoping for no holes punched in the walls today. Nobody talking about driving 140 miles an hour. I'm hoping that is not what we're going to have, but we're going to see as we have our first caller. Caller, give your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Hello.
Hi, caller. How you doing?
I'm not doing bad. Well, I've been better, but
sure.
I think it's negligent of Woodson to not start Goody tonight. He's shooting 50% from three when he starts, and we make no adjustments to our starting lineup. I think this team's a reflection of the coach, and at this point, there's no fight left, and they're fighting for themselves, and they have no leadership to lead them the rest of the way.
Tough to argue with anything that you said.
What's that?
Tough to argue with anything that you said right there.
I think it's. I think the rest of the season we're playing for a lazy coach. We're a team of players. We have Goody. I think Goody. You have a lineup in Goody, Gallo, Leal, and Ballo, and McBacco that can be a solid starting lineup. We don't have the depth to be competitive, but there's no reason this team should start out down 20 points.
Well, especially when you talk about some of those early turnovers, some of these slow rotations on defense, the fact that Renew still isn't moving the way that you want him to, and that's fine. But he's coming back from the injury. But if that's the case, you have to limit his minutes. And if you are going to start him, then you can't give him the two bigs out there as well. That to me is where you're going to struggle with it. So it's difficult. It's difficult to say the least. Caller dropped out. I didn't drop you. So if you guys, it's a conversation, and obviously we're back in therapy mode. So I think that maybe the caller's calling back, which is good. Lost you there for a second. You come back?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, gotcha. Thanks for calling back.
Yeah, I mean it's just heartbreaking. I mean, I'm from Bloomington, born and raised, IU graduate. This is a team that has $5 million or so allocated to them. We've got
Still there, caller?
What to the YMCA?
Sorry, you cut out there for a second.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, gotcha.
I'm from Bloomington.
Man, ain't nothing going right now. Tell you what, he's trying again. I give him credit. I give you a lot of credit for calling back. I appreciate it. Now he's gone again. Well, I mean, he's right about it being heartbreaking, to say the least. He's exactly right about that. He's persistent. I love it. You're persistent. I love it, man.
I'm so pissed off. I'm losing service.
Or the King of Indiana is upsetting your cell phone. I don't know. We may lose him again, but the bottom line, it is a very, very disappointing game, very disappointing trip to Wisconsin. And what the caller was saying about it being just heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to see this lack of effort, because you saw good effort against Purdue. That was something that they did show, and you thought, okay, if they can go ahead and keep doing that, they might have an opportunity. And then there was just no effort at all in the first 7 minutes of the game.
Can you hear me right now?
Yeah, I can hear you right now.
Hey, I'm born and raised in Bloomington. I'm an IU graduate. I've seen better performances down at the local rec center.
Yeah.
I mean, how much money do you have to pay to put together a team that can do better than this? There was not one point of this game where we looked competitive. And it's heartbreaking because you have a starting five that you could put together that would give us a chance to start the game positive, and Woodson doesn't have the ability to do that. Why do you not start Goody? He shoots 50% from three when he starts. The only thing I can imagine, and this is just me, I'm not saying you're wrong at all. The only thing I can imagine is that it's a thing of Renew with the knee. He warms up and he doesn't want to sit down and have him cool down, so he keeps him in that starting lineup. But to me, then you go ahead, you could still bring in Goody and get the minutes that you need out of Renew, and then bring Ballo in, and he's a little bit fresher later in the half. That's the only thing that I could possibly imagine. And again, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that could be the thought process, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think what happened is Woodson in this offseason, I think he guaranteed a certain amount of people a certain amount of minutes and a certain amount of money, and he is too scared to tell them they're not living up to that expectation, and he has to make changes.
Well, I don't know if that is the case, but certainly it's odd to stick with these lineups along the way, because they aren't working, and especially when you get off to a slow start like they did, it's very strange to me just how you go about putting these lineups together and sticking with things. It's really, really frustrating, to say the least.
I mean, it's just sad. We're projected to finish second in the Big Ten. We have the fifth highest paid salary in terms of players we paid for, and this is where we are.
Yep.
I thought after last week's performance at Purdue, I truly had confidence. I mean, I even took them tonight plus 9.5, thinking that somehow our players could win in despite of Mike Woodson. And we have the performance that we do tonight. It's just sad. I don't think there's any way to go up from here. I think we have to fire Mike Woodson immediately and somehow hope that we find a guy that can turn this around. Well,
I certainly appreciate the call. I think a lot of people feel the same way.
You.
Thanks a lot. Take care. 812-393-2600 is the number. Mr. Larson says, you could tell this caller has that B-Town Wi-Fi. It could sometimes be a little rough, to say the least. It is going to be utterly and absolutely fascinating on Saturday at Assembly Hall. It is going to be absolutely fascinating because Indiana now has lost 4 straight. They've lost 6 of their last 7. You have Michigan and Dusty May, who a coach that a lot of people wanted to see hired last year. The Hoosiers absolutely have to get out to a good start against Michigan. Otherwise, the absolute spectacle that you are going to see at Assembly Hall is going to be amazing. It's going to be something else. There are going to be a lot of very, very angry people at Assembly Hall, especially if the Hoosiers get off to a slow start. I think it's going to be something. It's going to be something. 812-393-2600 is the number. It's a Tuesday night. I know people are have work in the morning, but let's go ahead and get some of these thoughts out so that you don't keep your wives and girlfriends awake tonight, or boyfriends or husbands, whatever. I don't discriminate with any of those. Z. Paulson says, I thought this was supposed to be our therapy. This is making me sad. It's about talking through your feelings, Z. That's what it is. It's talking through your feelings. So you get out the sad. There's actually been scientific reports that I've read about if you actually say the words, I feel sad, it actually ends up making you feel better if you admit it instead of fighting it. Because, look, Indiana hasn't won in Wisconsin since 1998. History is for the media and the fans, but historically they do struggle up there. Every team is different, but boy, oh boy, that was a mess from the start. And for the team to just no-show in a game that's critical, they're running out of time. I mean, it feels like the players themselves kind of feel, this, I don't know where this is going to go. That is more than a little bit disturbing. We have our caller calling back, I think. Here we go. Caller, how you doing?
Ken?
Yeah.
I could talk all day about these guys.
What you got?
It's heartbreaking. I mean, it's a university that has been built.
Oh, no. Dude, your connection is just killing us tonight.
To me, it feels like where we are right now is you have a bunch of people taking advantage of that and stealing money.
Well, the money aspect does change this. There's no question about it. People are giving their hard-earned money for NIL,
For the money.
and that does change the equation more than just a little bit. The second you accept one of those checks, you're beholden in terms of energy and things like that when it comes to players. It comes to the player and that relationship. Kevin on the chat says, I'm shocked people are still watching this team and think the next game is going to be any different. I stopped watching after the Iowa blowout. Done until Woodson is gone. I appreciate you being on here. That's exactly kind of the thing is anger is tough for a program. Apathy is so much worse. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong at all. Is anybody really shocked to have this result? Mr. Larson says, what quality coach would want to come here, honestly? Why do you think they wouldn't? Let's look at the positives of this program in general. An unbelievably robust NIL fund to turn things around quickly. A fan base that is just dying to have a successful basketball program. You have a program that has so much support and obviously a ton of tradition and all that kind of stuff. And tradition doesn't mean a lot in terms of wins and losses, but the fan support is amazing. It is a program that is just itching for some success. And you come here and you get Indiana anywhere back to where it used to be, you're going to be revered. But the problem is that the hire of Mike Woodson a couple of years ago was a hire that would not have been made at any other school. Nobody was knocking down Mike Woodson's door to get him on campus. Mr. Larson says, unrealistic expectations from the fan base, stadium falling apart, no success in decades. I disagree with the unrealistic, all three of those, to be honest with you. The no success in decades, that's fair, because there hasn't been a ton of success since the Sampson years and the restart with Crean. He was able to put together a couple of rosters. Stadium falling apart, I won't go that far. They've done a lot with renovations. It's certainly not a brand new place, to say the least. And unrealistic expectations from the fan base, we do need to talk about that. I would say that the realistic expectations for this program is when you have the kind of funds you have, the kind of talent that you're bringing in, that it isn't about national championships at this point. It is about just getting to the damn NCAA tournament and being competitive every time out. That's not unrealistic to me. You want to be able to compete for a Big Ten title. You want to be able to be in the conversation. A national title isn't something that is really we're a very long way from there, and have been for decades and decades. But compete for a Big Ten title. Compete every time out. Don't get overwhelmed by teams that have less talent than you, less physical talent. The rest of it, so I don't think that there's unrealistic expectations. There can be at the start of the season. I know that every season everybody thinks that just because a player all of a sudden is wearing an Indiana uniform, he's instantly going to get better. I'm very wait and see myself as an alum and somebody who's covered the team for 20 plus years. Every season I'm very wait and see, especially when it comes to the new guys, because in the off season everybody's great. But when you're talking about college basketball in 2025, the elements to be successful are there for Indiana. A major conference, huge NIL fund that if used properly could really draw a lot of talent. Unwavering success, or rather unwavering support from fans. I say unwavering because people show up. And people desperately want things to be better than they are. And that to me is somewhat of the struggle here. 812-393-2600 is the number. Let's look at some of the individual performances in this one. Indiana, and again, 76-64 losers in a game that wasn't that close. And we'll get back to our very persistent caller here one more time. Go ahead, caller. What do you got?
I spent all my money on NIL, so my Wi-Fi router is terrible. Everything you were saying, I understand your point of let's try to get them to the tournament, but is that not the goal?
He's gone. I appreciate the calls. I desperately do. I really do. But I think maybe for tonight we'll go ahead and move on. But I thank you very, very much for the call. Your connection just is not working tonight. But let's look at some of the individual performances tonight. Indiana shoots 40.4% from the field overall. Gets 25.9%, 7 of 27 from three-point range. Evens up on rebounding, 36-36. Hoosiers commit 11 turnovers on the night. But from an individual performance standpoint, the Hoosiers are led by Mackenzie Mbako, 15 points on 5 of 13 shooting, but just 1 of 7 from three-point range. Yet he had 4 rebounds, he had 2 turnovers, and a block was minus 17 on the night. Miles Rice, 10 points on 3 of 4 shooting. 8 of those 10 points came in the first half when Indiana was busy falling apart. 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 turnovers. He was +4 on the night. But, you have you're a point guard. You got 3 assists and 3 turnovers. That's pretty rough. Malik Renew, 6 points in 17 minutes. He went 3 of 6 from the floor, added 6 rebounds on the night. Then you have Omar Ballo, 4 points on 1 of 3 shooting. Adds 6 rebounds, has 3 turnovers, 2 blocks. And Anthony Leal in the starting lineup held scoreless, 0 for 4. He played 11 minutes. He was minus 22 in those 11 minutes. That rounded out the starting lineup. Off the bench, you had Bryson Tucker with 9 points on 3 of 7 shooting, knocked 2 of 3 shots down from three-point range, added 6 rebounds in 24 minutes. He was actually +3 on the day. Luke Goody, 11 points on 4 of 12 shooting. So Goody was 3 of 9 from 3, which is 33%. Did not have a great shooting night as it is. He was trying to shoot Indiana back into it, but couldn't quite do it. Had 5 rebounds and a couple of steals in 35 minutes. And Trey Galloway off the bench, 9 points, 4 of 8 shooting, 1 of 5 from three-point range. He had 4 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 turnovers in 32 minutes. The Hoosiers with 29 points off the bench, 26 points in the paint. And what really stands out to me from this is 10 total points from Malik Renew and Omar Ballo. Ballo has been so critical with his play inside. And when 60% of your starters, Leal, Renew, and Ballo, combine to score 10 total points and go 4 of 13 from the field, it's not good. It's not good. The Hoosiers just didn't turn in a ton of effort defensively. They really struggled to guard the three-point line. Wisconsin finishes the game 12 of 29 from three-point range, but just 3 of 13 in the second half. And I feel like I should mention the fact that Wisconsin, to me, this could have been, it was a 12-point game, but that lead could have been stretched a lot more. Wisconsin didn't play very well for about the last 30 minutes of that game. They were good enough to push away from Indiana, and the Hoosiers scored 6 points in the last minute, 9, to turn an 18-point loss into a 12-point loss. But Wisconsin did not play great over the final 30 minutes of the game. They started very hot. The problem, of course, is that is what it's those first 10 minutes count. And Indiana dug itself such a hole that there's nothing that could be done about it. And now it's just going to get worse. 812-393-2600 is the number. This is our last chance for this caller, who has now called 10 times tonight. Go ahead. Let's see if it'll work this time.
Ken, I apologize. I spent all my money on NIL, and so my router is as bad as you can get.
Okay.
The point I'm trying to make is this is a university that makes a bunch of money off of IU basketball. The history of Bob Knight is the reason that Mike Woodson has this job. The money we produce is the reason we have this roster we have. And we're incapable of going to any team and being competitive. My last hope after the Purdue game was that maybe this team could win despite of Mike Woodson. And this performance we gave.
Well, they were competitive against Purdue. They were competitive against
Correct.
Ohio State and ended up winning the game. So not against anybody, but I understand what you're saying. It's just these are happening just far too much. And again, a 12-point final score, but we all know that was a hell of a lot more than just a 12-point loss.
Yep. How do you not start Luke Goody tonight after what he's been able to do for us? How do you not see as a coach the players that look at Braden Smith. He's nowhere near the athlete of 95% of players in Division I basketball, yet he is capable of what he's done this year. And so when you see a guy like Goody You see a guy like Leal. How are they not the priority of your team?
Well, I mean, Leal was held scoreless. He didn't do a whole bunch today. He tries hard, but he's not somebody that's going to make the difference in terms of production for these kind of things. And even Goody, he finishes with 11 points on 4 of 12 shooting. He tried to shoot his way into it, but he just can't. So, I mean, inconsistency has been the hallmark of this team, period. So,
yeah. I mean, I think Mike Woodson has reached a point. We're going to hear the same game in his post-game press conference of he's got to find a way for us to get better. He's got to find a way for these guys to buy in. He's got to find a way to get us over the hump.
Here's this. I even saved the sound of it.
Coach, I gotta get us over that hump.
I just added that into my little board that I have here. So
it's the same. It is the same post game every game. I'm tired of not hearing a coach give a breakdown of the game and what he actually thinks that he can do to fix things. And at this point of where we are, I think Mike Woodson is stealing money from Indiana University.
Well, that's something that I have heard other people say as well. So, again, I appreciate the call and I appreciate the persistence tonight. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Ken. I'm sorry I'm sorry that with the issues I'm dealing with, but yeah. I just want to make sure how I feel, and I can guarantee you I'll be calling in every game after this because we have a lot of games left in the season, as Mike Woodson loves to say, which means a lot of games left to lose.
Well, we will see. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Yep, go Hoosiers.
812-393-2600 is the number. Gritty on the chat says, I just want the season to be over. This has been awful, but I'll be there Saturday. And that's what I'm talking about when it comes to the unwavering support of fans, is they still come. They still come to the games. They still want the program to be successful, desperately want it to be successful, and they'll be there to cheer people on. But they're also a group that unrealistic expectations is something that is sticking out to me because of the fact that I don't know that especially the younger fans have unrealistic expectations. Mostly because they haven't seen a lot of success. They want a team that's going to get to the NCAA tournament on a regular basis, which I think we could all agree at IU is kind of your baseline. That is your bare minimum expectation for the season. Get to the tournament. Get to the tournament. And we've missed it way too often. And we're so far away from being an elite team in college basketball that most fans want IU to be, that it's difficult to watch. I mean, you looked at Wisconsin out there, and especially in those first 10 minutes of the game where they basically put this thing away, they had all the room in the world to shoot. Yeah, they were knocking down shots. I understand that, but it wasn't a fluky thing. They're the best 3-point shooting team in the Big Ten. The one thing you can't do is leave their shooters open. You have to talk. You have to communicate. You have to do all of that, and none of it was happening. None of it was happening. And by the way, Wisconsin played the world today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 players in Badger uniforms took the floor today. A couple of those guys were right at the end. But it is... They had, 4 guys in double figures. They could hurt you from multiple different places. And what Indiana has is a pile of inconsistency that isn't getting the job done nearly enough. We haven't seen them put together a real strong 40 minutes in a game yet this year. Troika on the chat says, get to the tournament consistently and not being a bubble last 4 in team. That's exactly it. And also when you get to that point, you're going to be able to build on it, because we really also just have to think about where we are when it comes to college basketball. And it was once upon a time, not too long ago, that everything was built on their tradition and the candy stripes and the banners and the fan support. And that is the reason why Tom Crean was able to take over a team with Brett Finkelmeyer and Kyle Tabor, and within 4 years have them in the Sweet 16. And at the start of the fifth year, they were the number one team in the country. Cody Zeller did not come to Indiana because of the success the Hoosiers had been having. It was because of the fan support and everything that surrounded the program. That's what brought him to IU. That's what brought a lot of those guys to IU. And for the past 8 years, we have seen nothing but mediocrity, missed opportunities, a lack of effort, and not a lot of answers from the bench with Archie Miller and Mike Woodson. And that's why people are as frustrated as they are. 812-393-2600 is the number. We got another caller. Caller, if I could have your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Hi, Mr. Bykoff. I am from originally St. Louis, Missouri, by way of Indiana University, now living in Los Angeles. I am one half of the Hoosier Hysterics. My name is Eric Pankowski.
Hi, Eric. How you doing?
Oh, Ken, I just had to call you. What a crappy job that you have tonight to just talk to people after that game. Yeah, I mean every night it seems like.
Baby, I was on the air after the Illinois game and the Iowa game. This is easy.
Yeah, that's fair. Although it's like compounding interest.
Yeah.
With each game, it just gets harder. It just gets harder and harder. I do think that there is no, if I have to be positive, there is no better team in the country when down by 20 at the end of the game than Indiana University. Everybody hits shots. We even keep our starters in against a bunch of scrubs from the other team so that we can take that 20-point lead and make it 12 and look respectable for the metrics. It's just, but here's the sad thing, Ken. What ended up happening in this game is basically exactly what was expected to happen. All the prognostications, the metrics said we would lose by double digits.
Yep.
And we did. So ultimately, it doesn't really even hurt Indiana. That's where we are as a program. A 12-point loss to Wisconsin does not hurt you.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all.
And it's pathetic.
I mean, it hurts you. It hurts if you all of a sudden start going on a winning streak, but both you and I know that ain't going to happen.
Look, a streak, probably not. But can they beat Michigan at home? Yeah, they could probably beat Michigan at home. Michigan turns the ball over a ton. It's going to be on the road. So does Indiana. But if Indiana doesn't start that game well, that environment is going to be brutal. With Dusty on the other sideline and these two losses, that is going to be a toxic environment, which is why I have been saying for a while now, this is why you do it in season. You make the move. You don't even have to get rid of him in season. You just have to announce that he's retiring at the end of the year and that he won't be the coach. And then he can make the decision. Does he want to stick around and be the coach for the rest of the season and play it out? Or does he want to leave and let somebody be the interim? But you do it now to lower the temperature of the fan base because it's toxic. It has the potential to be toxic. And the other reason you do it now is because you know he's not the guy to lead Indiana. You know it. But is there a weird chance that they could rattle off 5 wins over the next 8 games and make the tournament? Could 4 wins do it? Maybe. And then does it make your job harder to get rid of him? Maybe. No. So you do it now. They should do it now. They should just do it now. They won't, but they should.
Well, you know, there's arguments both ways, and I would be stunned if they did it. The only guy that I could think of that they fired midseason was Kelvin Sampson, and that was for other reasons. And most college programs don't fire a guy in season. But I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. To me, it's always about what you are, the direction of your program and where you're going. And you don't take a snapshot of a season. But that being said, again, I'm not arguing with you. That being said, what you're dealing with is a program that is not headed anywhere near the right direction. And you have a fan base that's frustrated. People are upset. It's going to be toxic as hell, especially if they get off to a bad start against Michigan. And given the way that they've played at home this year, can they win Saturday? Yeah. If they lose, I won't be stunned at all. At all.
Oh, no surprise. The only games left I'd be surprised if they lost would be Penn State at home and Washington on the road. I would be surprised if they lose those games because I think those teams, Penn State lost at home tonight to Minnesota.
Right.
They are not a good team at all. And Washington is a terrible basketball team. So I'd be surprised if we lose those. The rest, I wouldn't be surprised if we lose or win. I would be surprised if we beat Michigan State on the road for sure. But everybody else, not that good. Really not that good in the Big Ten. The Big Ten's weak. Yeah,
but Indiana's not very good either. That's kind of the point.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Indiana isn't very good either. That's what it comes down to. Remember, they didn't exactly overwhelm Chattanooga and Winthrop earlier this year.
No, they didn't. But Ken, let me ask you a question. What is the good argument for not doing it during the season at this point, knowing where we are right now with the environment that exists at home games when things don't go well? What is the good argument for keeping him? I'd love to hear if you've got one.
I outside of just not shaking up the season for no reason. Because if you think that he is the reason why, and it's time to move on from him, and you have a chance to salvage a season if he isn't on the bench, that would be the only good argument for it. That said, it's just something that really isn't done. I keep coming back to the fact that you have guys that you make a commitment to them and you give them the season unless everything is absolutely unspooling, and we are beyond unspooled at this point. And the only thing
argument for me.
I'm not arguing against you. That's the thing is right. It is just if you're trying to save the toxic environment, trying to make it so that it doesn't get bad, it's doesn't make a difference. It's going to be gone if he's fired in the offseason. It's going to be gone for next season anyway. Indiana fans will jump on board with whoever's up next and run with it. So I
totally agree there. I totally agree there. But every home game, every game that Indiana plays is on national TV.
Mm-hmm.
Every home game is a potential embarrassment with booing, with fans chanting "Fire Woodson," with fans booing the players, with a toxic environment. That's not good for the institution. That's not good for the fan base. It's just not good. And if you know he's going to be gone, then why subject the university, the fan base, even the players to that toxicity for the rest of the year? Why do it? Well, I still don't know what a good argument is to keep him.
I don't have an answer for you. I don't
there you
have.
Go.
I don't.
Well, there you go. I left you with that happy thought.
Hey, I'm happy to say I don't know. I'm okay. I don't act like I know it all. That's for sure. I don't, because to me, we saw the direction the program was going after year 3. And look, I'm a guy who says that I would have very, 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 very much have encouraged Tom Crean to leave the year that he won his second Big Ten title. And I wrote about it at the time because, he just won and it's a tough sell, but you saw the direction the program was going. And even I even had, a source in the athletic department say, that's why we didn't extend him after that, because we saw the same thing too, but we didn't think it would be fair to fire him after a Big Ten championship. So, to me, it is always about where you're going. And it's not a snapshot of the season. It isn't like, well, they've lost this many. No, this is an ongoing thing because we saw the same thing last year. It is the direction of the program. And right now, the direction is that, I will be stunned if they're able to get it together and make some kind of run to the tournament. I just don't. Everybody keeps talking about them having opportunities, and that's great. You have the opportunities, but if you don't take advantage of them, nothing makes me think that the next time they're going to be able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I hear that. But look, they did win at Ohio State.
They choked on a 10-point lead at Ohio State and then managed to win by 1 in overtime. Yes.
Yeah, they did. I mean, look, they're not good. They're not a good team. But there's other teams out there that are also doing their best to lose games. Penn State's a terrible team. Ohio State is not a very good team. Michigan has vulnerabilities. Washington is terrible. We play plenty of teams that are equally bad. I mean, and if you just take the emotion out of it and just look at metrics, look at cold, hard numbers, we play several teams that we are close to in the metrics. So it depends how the ball bounces in those games. But I agree. I mean, it's hard to see like a streak. I just think they could win the rest of their home games with the exception of maybe Purdue. But again, they played Purdue on the road in a game that they should have won. They didn't. But if they play with that intensity against Purdue at home, they could win that game.
Yeah, and each one of these losses are starting to wear on them. You could tell.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, by the way, the craziest stat that I saw before the game was that Mike Woodson, as of today, has been the Indiana head coach for 1,410 days. It has been now 710 days since Indiana beat a ranked opponent.
To be fair, they did play ranked opponents every day.
What's that? They don't play ranked opponents?
They have an off season, so all those days don't count. But I understand what you're saying.
Yes, I know.
It's a fact. It's been a couple of years. Yeah. Yeah.
We are almost at 2 full seasons of. We didn't beat a ranked opponent last year. We didn't beat a single ranked opponent all last year, and we haven't beaten a single ranked opponent this year. And we're getting into the back third of the Big Ten season.
Yeah,
that is remarkable.
Well, Eric, I appreciate the call. We got another caller on the line, and we got to get to Mike Woodson here.
Go for it.
So I appreciate it. Thanks so much, buddy.
Talk to you. Be good, Ken.
Take care. 812-393-2600 is the number. We're going to go right to our next caller. Caller, if you have your name, where you're from, and what you got.
I'm Bill from White Lake, Michigan.
Hi, Bill.
And the first thing I want to say First thing I want to say, this last caller you had here from California, he was really good. And he's got a lot of insight, and I agree with a lot he has to say.
He's one of the Hoosier Hysterics, by the way. The guys that do the Hoosier Hysterics podcast, that's Eric Pankowski. He's one of the Hoosier Hysterics that they also put their podcast on Peegs.com. Just wanted to mention that.
Oh, okay. Well, I have my outlook is even more dire than some of your other people who've called in, because I've gotten to the point where I don't care whether they will win or lose. In fact, I've told you before, I'm not going to go through it again. It gets boring hearing it. But I've heard hundreds of IU sports games, and I am so sick of the way the basketball program is now.
Yeah.
It's pathetic. It's the way the football team used to be. And so I don't really care whether they win or lose. But I did see an encouraging sign during the IU Purdue game the other day. Some Purdue fan is really excited. He put on his sign it says, "Extend Woodson." So you know that he's happy.
Yeah, they were doing that at Northwestern too. They were doing that at Northwestern.
I didn't watch the game. Oh, did they? I didn't watch the game. I couldn't bear to stand or sit and watch it. And I don't know whether I'll even watch the game on Sunday, because except I want to see how the crowd reacts to what's going on.
Yeah, that's going to be fascinating to me.
Yeah, I don't know who they're ever going to get for a new coach, just like no one else really knows. But they've got to do a whole lot better. And I'm going to bring this complaint I still have. I hate those banners hanging in Assembly Hall. The last hours, it's been 700 some days since we've beaten a ranked opponent. We've only been in the Final Four, one time in the last 38 years? That's got to come down. That looks so phony hanging up there now. But nobody seems to care except me.
And it's the frustration continues to build. There's no question, and that's why But again, you know that you have all the resources you need to return to that level right now, but we are very, very far from that level right now, for sure.
Oh, for sure. Well, we're not going to be able to do anything about this season. And so what? Let's say that IU wins the rest of their games. So what? Well, how far would they go in the tournament if they even got in? The way they play, they wouldn't go very far anyway.
Yeah.
I think that last caller had it on the ball. So what if you get rid of Woodson right now? That might send a notice to other people. We care. But, I don't get to make any decisions, so I just have to watch from afar.
Yep. Well, I appreciate the call.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it, Bill. 812-393-2600 is the number. I know you've been dying to hear it. And so here, as we move on, here is going to be Mike Woodson, kind of a short post-game presser. It's I'm seeing the video. It's about 3 minutes and 45 seconds. So here is Mike Woodson during his post-game press conference.
I guess big picture question. You guys are 60th in the net, struggling against ranked teams. Why do you feel the season's kind of slipped to the point it is where it is right now?
Right now, we're not tough. We're just not a tough team right now. We're not, and mentally we're not tough. You figure we have a game like we did at Purdue, and where we really competed for 40 minutes, and then we come in here and we lay an egg, based on how we started the ball game. And you spot teams on the road 20, it's going to be tough to get back in them. And again, that's on me, man. We're pushing and pulling and scraping and just trying to get what we can get, and guys just didn't step up again tonight, man. We got to get it fixed because we only have 8 left, and 5 of them at home, and we got to figure out all our games at home, and the 3 that's out on the road, we got to try to figure those out as well.
Mike, what do you think made it difficult? Wisconsin is a team that is going to shoot threes. What do you think made it difficult for the defense to handle that early in the game?
Again, their bigs got away. That was the difference. I thought Malik and Ballo did an awful job in terms of guarding, the bigs. And we were terrible in transition early. They got a few there. But, you figure if you could take some of those away, you got a game. And you made 9 at halftime. And that was well over what we wanted to do coming into the game and guarding the three-point line. I thought we were better the second half in that regard, but the first half put us out of the game basically because it was tough getting back after they got up 20.
Mike, it seemed like especially that first 6-7 minutes, that everybody was a step slow. And how do you explain the energy level in a game so important like this that they're just a step slow, everything?
I don't know. It's hard for me to explain it, but we're running out of games, and I got to figure these next eight games out because it's going to be very pivotal for our basketball team in terms of making the tournament play.
What do you tell your team moving forward to kind of let them know that times of the essence?
Again, it's not rocket science. Right now, our backs are against the wall. We're not playing great basketball. We're playing in spurts. I thought the last 3 games, prior to tonight, we played pretty good ball. And, we came up short on, if you just maybe won 1 or 2 of those, you're feeling good about yourself. I got to figure out a game where we can get these guys back feeling good about themselves and see where it goes from there.
Do you think the weight of the losses is weighing on these guys?
Sure it is. None of these guys like to lose. I don't like to lose. I don't like the way we're playing. I did prior to coming into tonight's game. I thought in Purdue we played great. Maryland game we played great. We played a great half at Northwestern. But we were awful tonight.
What binds the team together in a stretch like this? You have a lot of experienced guys, obviously a lot of guys with experience? Do you just kind of lean on them? Do you let them do it organically?
No, you got to lean on them, but you got to help them too. These guys they're kids, and playing a big time program, big time basketball, and the Big Ten ain't no joke. So we got to help each other. It's kind of how I look at it.
All right, thank you.
All right, guys.
So there was Mike Woodson during his post-game press conference after the Wisconsin game. He said some things there that, again, he brings up the good half that they played against Northwestern. That would be the second half. I assume he's talking about the half after they gave up 54 points. He also said, it's up to him to go ahead and it's on him for it. But you know what? Ballo played terrible, and different guys played terrible. Pointing fingers at P. I just, the weight of the losses is building on them, but you have to. They end up losing some close games because of issues on the sidelines, and so there's not a lot of trust with late games. We're gonna get that. Good God. On the chat, Straight Talk with Jack Graham says, just listen to Coach Sig. We could do that.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
I got this board, and I got some sounds in it. It's really a ton of fun to me. Oh, we just lost a caller. I was about to go to the caller. Damn it. Call back. 812-393-2600 is the number. I was about to just turn and go to the caller. Frustrating game. Frustrating game, to say the least, for the Hoosiers, because they just simply cannot get over the hump, as he likes to say. He's got to figure it out. There's 8 games to go. I remember these very same things being said last year. Very same things being said last year. At this point, to where, these guys are still figuring out. Remember, they're still together. They are they're new guys. I mean, our backs are against the wall. Your backs are against the wall after the Purdue loss. And you went to Wisconsin, and this is how you came out? This is how you came out. It's just really incredible to me. Really incredible to me. And now you have to take on Michigan, which I know that, there's some people like, well, Michigan's not very good, and that one's at home. But, last time Indiana played at home, they lost to a Maryland team that they should have beat. Last time they played at home before that, they got the hell beat out of them by Illinois. Time before that, January 8th, they beat USC at home by 13 points. Are there opportunities there? Yes. Will I be surprised if Indiana doesn't win on Saturday? Yeah. You got to take a trip to Michigan State after that. Michigan State is always dangerous. And you're talking about back-to-back home games, UCLA and Purdue. Anybody feel good about those? I don't. Especially when Indiana is just stacking these games where they just aren't very competitive. Plain and simple. And even, look, Indiana's lost 4 straight. They have lost 6 of their last 7. And that one win, I keep coming back to this. That one win, you needed overtime against Ohio State to win the ball game. And that was a situation where Indiana had a 10-point lead with 5 to go, and they choked it away and had to rally had to hold on in overtime to win. That to me, it was 68-58 with 5:12 to go against Ohio State, and they couldn't do it. And so if you get yourself into a close game now, do you really think that this is a team that is going to be able to have confidence in itself? The weight of these things build and build and build. Hoosiers are 14-9. overall. 5-7 in the Big Ten. Just 2-5 on the road. Have not beat a ranked team this year. Michigan is ranked. So there's that. So it's just really quite incredible that it's just Groundhog Day. Yesterday was Groundhog Day, or 2 days ago was Groundhog Day, but it is what it is. Straight Talk on the chat says Michigan is 8-2. No, am I correct? Michigan, your Wolverines are, yes, 8-2 in the Big Ten, 16-5 overall. They are ranked number 24 in the nation. They have a game against Oregon tomorrow, and then they got that quick turnaround for IU. Those losses, though, the reason people kind of aren't wild about Michigan is because Michigan's lost 5 times. They lost a tight one early in the season to Wake Forest, 72-70. They've lost a 2-point game against Arkansas. They lost by 1 point to Oklahoma. They lost by 3 points at Minnesota, and then they got the hell beat out of them at Purdue. And so, they turn the ball over. They also find ways to win. They find ways to win, and it's the losses that they have are not exactly things that they should hang their head about. I'll say that. 812-393-2600 is the number. Really appreciate the callers and everybody that's been a part of this tonight on a Tuesday night. It's a late night. I know that people have to go to work in the morning, and I appreciate you hanging on here. Lines are open, 812-393-2600. We don't get some callers coming in, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Mike Woodson's press conferences continue to be head scratchers, eyebrow raising, certainly at times. And it's just the inconsistency of what he says, to where he'll say it's on me to this loss is on me, and then those guys were awful in this one. And there's nothing wrong with saying that these guys are awful, but it just makes it sound like I had a good plan, but obviously they didn't execute it, and that's why this has happened. And Malik and Balo were terrible, is what Woodson said. I don't disagree with them. They were terrible. And there's nothing wrong with calling out players. But it is also a matter of, it's a trend of what's happening. It's a trend of what's happening here. And so when you have a team that is struggling as much as IU, when you have a team that is just not on the same page at all, you have to maybe shake things up a little bit when it comes to your lineup. And you can't just go back to the two bigs, especially if one of them is hobbled a little bit. It's rough. That's all. It's just rough, and it's heartbreaking, and it's all of it. It is all of it. Straight Talk with Jack Graham. Somebody on the chat, let me know if you have been able to hear these little board things I have. So tell me right now about if you have heard this. If you hear Woodson say "over the hump" right now, just a second.
No, as the coach, I gotta get us over that hump.
Tell me on the chat if you just heard him say you got to get us. I have to give you over that hump. That's what I want to hear. Because if I'm playing these little sounds from the thing and people aren't hearing them, that's going to be disappointing.
As the coach, I gotta get us over that hump.
All right. Well, that's excellent, because You mentioned Straight Talk. Remember Bobby, the ass meets bench rant? You mean this?
But the greatest motivator of all is your ass on the bench. There is no better motivator. Ass meets bench. Bench retains ass. Ass transmits signal to brain. Brain transmits signal to body. Body gets ass off bench and plays better. I mean, it's a hell of a sequence of things that takes place.
Yep. I do remember that, yes. It's one of the sounds that I put in my little board. Gotta do something fun for this season, right? Gotta do something fun. Howie says, do you think Dolson knows how upset the fans are? He has ears. He hears them. He gets the emails. He knows. He knows. Or how disconnected we all feel. Yep, feel real confident that he understands that he knows. And I think that, that's actually something that's a little bit, I've talked about this before on here, how it's a little bit different with this team and kind of with college basketball now. It isn't that we have a shorter leash with players. It's that with NIL, it gives people who donate to NIL and all of that more of a feeling of being able to say something to make, to make their feelings heard when they've donated and people aren't living up to what they are, their expectations or a level of standard, I guess, that they should. And then you talk about a guy like Miles Rice or Ballo or Bryson Tucker, which Tucker's a little bit different because he's a freshman, Luke Goody, these guys that haven't been around the IU program for a long time. And so that most of these guys are basically mercenaries. They're here for a year or two to collect a paycheck and make Indiana successful. And when they don't live up to that, that's where you have people really, really, really get upset. And there isn't the connection that you had with Guy. People feel connected to Anthony Leal. They felt connected to Juwan Morgan. They felt connected to Will Sheehy or Yogi Ferrell or some of these guys that came before. The guys that are here for just a very short time, that connection isn't built. When's the last time somebody talked about Romeo Langford around here? He was here for a year. He's an Indiana kid. We all knew he was only going to be here for a year. But he's not somebody that I think people really had a huge connection with. And so when a team puts on that Indiana uniform and struggles, and they haven't been here very long, I think that there's also a subconscious feeling that they don't understand what's been going on around here. And we don't have this kind of stuff. Again, Straight Talk on chat says, how can you lose Mullins to UConn? Because UConn wins national championships. You put these two programs next to one another, it isn't a contest. UConn's been winning national championships. Indiana's been missing tournaments. That's where we're at. Let's be realistic here. Let's be realistic. You looked at this schedule at the start of the season. You looked at Wisconsin, and you said, well, they never win at Wisconsin. Because they don't. Been with my wife for 25 years. I did not know her last time Indiana won in Wisconsin. Howie in the chat says, also, the leash shortens and should when the trajectory is negative. If he had built some positive momentum with recruiting or the offense looking more modern, it could buy some goodwill. And that's where that direction of the program comes up. Because if you've had success in the past and you have a down season, you don't have any reason to trust that things will get better. And you look at where Mike Woodson and this program has been. I mean, they had a lottery pick and an All-American and kind of squeaked into the NCAA tournament. You have a guy who last year who was going to who ended up being an NBA draft pick, somebody who is one of the people in the mix for NBA Rookie of the Year this year. And yet, you know, here are the Hoosiers. They go 19-14 last year and don't make the NCAA tournament. So when you have that kind of talent and you haven't been able to do anything with it, there's no reason to believe that it's going to change. You win some goodwill, you earn some trust if you have some success, and that's not where it is. Doug asks, what is the reporting structure in the athletic department? Woody doesn't report to the athletic director. Please explain. From what I understand, or from some things that Mike Woodson reportedly has said, that he, look, he's good friends with Quinn Buckner, the president of the board of trustees. I don't know exactly the reporting structure in the athletic department. Scott Dolson is his boss. That should be how that works. My biggest thing is after last year, there was every opportunity or every reason to say, okay, this is not going the right direction. 10-10 in the Big Ten, 19-14 overall. You had a real rough stretch, late in the season. So maybe it's time to go ahead and make a move. That didn't happen last offseason. And to me, it's a thing of, we'll give you another opportunity at this. And now here we are on February 4th, coming up on midnight, and you're talking about a team that already has 9 losses, that is sub 500 in the Big Ten, and is simply not pointed in the right direction. And you have Michigan coming up on Saturday, then a trip to East Lansing. Will I at all be surprised if this 4-game losing streak gets to 6? Not at all. There's not at all. And then UCLA. Anything's possible here, kids. All I know is this. Indiana's effort was trash, and especially in the first 10 minutes of this Wisconsin game. It wasn't bad. It wasn't trash against Purdue. Indiana tried very, very, it showed a ton of effort against Purdue. And you saw that and you're like, okay, if they can do that and keep up that level of effort, then you feel a lot better. Then you just get curb stomped in the first 10 minutes of the game and hang around for the rest of the time. Saturday is going to be fascinating to me, especially if they get off to a struggle early. Especially if they do that. If they aren't playing with a ton of effort. Then that's where the toxicity comes in. It's going to be interesting, to say the least. But your final from the Kohl Center in Madison, 76-64. The Hoosiers lose their 4th straight. Next play on Saturday at a 1 p.m. tip-off. And we'll be on the air after the press conferences. So road games were immediately after the buzzer. Home games after the press conferences, because I run the camera for Peegs.com at home. So we'll be there, but we will be live. That show usually at home is going on about 2.5 hours after tip-off, about maybe 2.5, 2:45. So you're looking at that point at about 3:30, 3:45 is when we'll be on the air live from Simon Scott Assembly Hall. We'll see how the Hoosiers show up. what it is. We haven't seen them put together a complete game basically since Penn State. And even then, they were pretty inconsistent. That's where we are right now. I want to thank all the callers that we had today. Thank Eric Pankowski calling in from California and everybody that calls. And also appreciate the chat. And you guys, with your questions that you have. Doug says, if the coach isn't reporting to the athletic director, isn't this a problem at its foundation? Why are we surprised? Well, again, it's not something that IU announces. All I can go off of is some of the comments that Mike Woodson has reportedly said in private, and you could hear all of those on the Hoosier Hysterics podcast that they've had. But the bottom line on this is I know at the very least Scott Dolson cares extremely deeply about IU basketball and IU football as well. And if there's anybody that's kind of getting in Dolson's way of doing what he needs to do, I really feel like what happened with football this year should have given Scott Dolson all the trust that he needs to make a decision at the end of the year, probably. John says this will hurt recruiting. I don't think it will. And the reason being is there isn't a player who commits to a team thinking they're going to lose. Especially when you look at what this, it'll hurt recruiting if Mike Woodson is back next year. Because then they're not going to trust that he's going to be around for a while. So that's a big part of this as well. And I think it's also really important that, it seems that Mike Woodson has kind of looked, I don't want to say turned off to recruiting, because obviously he's gotten commits and Bryson Tucker's a kid that committed to him, but he's definitely looking at transfer portal when it comes to adding new talent. That's kind of where he's at. We haven't even talked about the fact Kanan Carlisle was out of the lineup again with an undisclosed injury that, again, will Carlisle have made a difference? I don't think so. But, they were without him today. We haven't even mentioned that. But, it is what it is. If you don't show up for the first 10 minutes of the game, it's real tough to win, especially on the road. And it's the fourth one of them. Well, that's all the time we have on the Peegs Postgame Live. I want to thank you for listening. I want to remind you to visit Peegs.com for the very best in IU football and basketball coverage you're going to find anywhere. Nobody covers Hoosier recruiting better than Jeff Rabjohns, Matt Weaver, Trevor Andershock, and Jared Kelly. So come be a part of a thriving and exciting community at Peegs.com. Folks, you are not going to be disappointed. Folks, we're out of time. But for now, and for Jeff, Matt, Trevor, and Jared, I'm Ken Bykoff saying thanks for listening, everybody.